Kita lebih lama bertahan, tak berhenti untuk mencoba. Mungkin cerita kita akan berbeda. Seandainya aku sedikit lebih kuat, mempertahankan keyakinanku pada dirimu yang mulai lelah karena mereka.
Samudra terbentang khatulistiwa, di situ ku ada bersamamu saudara. Beragam warna kita, suku tak selalu sama. Kau aku Indonesia yang disatukan karena cinta. Karena kita Indonesia, jangan pernah terpecah belah. Walau kita berbeda, walau kita tak sama, tetaplah satu kita, kita Indonesia sesungguhnya.
Voice of Indonesia, the overseas service of Radio Republic Indonesia, broadcast in 9 language services: English, French, German, Dutch, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, Japanese, and Indonesian. Voice of Indonesia is broadcast via shortwave 3325 kHz and 4755 kHz, and via streaming on voinews.id and RRI Digital on mobile application. We present various programs for you: Diplomatic Forum, The Session, Indonesian Wonder, Miscellany, Let's Speak Bahasa Indonesia, Indonesian pop and regional songs, international musical entertainment, as well as news and information about Indonesia and abroad. Voice of Indonesia, from Indonesia to the world.
Voice of Indonesia, from Indonesia to the world. VOI listeners and viewers, as we know that right now is the day 3 of Eid al-Fitr for all Muslims around the world. Here in Indonesia, we can still see people visit each other, forgiving each other, and of course, while enjoying the mouth-watering food. But what about in a country in Europe? All the way we have a country that we would like to find out more about the Eid al-Fitr celebration, namely Slovakia. And to find out more about the Eid al-Fitr atmosphere, the celebration in Slovakia, we are already connected to the Indonesian ambassador to Slovakia, His Excellency Mr. Pribadi Suriono. Hello, good morning from Jakarta, Indonesia, Pak Pribadi.
Good morning, Pak Rahma. Happy Eid al-Fitri for sure. Minal Aidin wal Faizin from us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on VOI Talk, and have a blessed Eid al-Fitr as well to you, Pak Pribadi, and the staff of the Indonesian Embassy in Slovakia. So now we are so curious, how's the celebration of Eid al-Fitr in Slovakia and since day one until now?
Well, actually, the very I can say is very amazing that the response from the Indonesian to celebrate this year's Eid al-Fitri. You know that the Indonesians now numbers is now increasing fivefold already since 2002. So now we have around, well, I think it's more than five. I think 6 or 7-fold. It's now around 700 Indonesian, and on the we are celebrating the Eid al-Fitri on the actually on the 31st of March, not in the 1st of April like in Indonesia. So, well, the turnout of the Indonesian, I think, is around 350 Indonesians coming to the Indonesian embassy. We held the Indonesian what you call it pray, Eid al-Fitri pray on that day at the Indonesian embassy's premises. Thank you.
Okay, so the celebration took place in the embassy office itself.
Yes.
Okay. And after Eid al-Fitr prayer, what events or activities organized by the embassy?
Well, we don't have a direct celebration as you know, that like open house, but we are going to host it on the 5th of April, because most of the Indonesian, you know, that they are working, even that some of them also working on Sunday, in the 6th one. So we are celebrating only at the time a pray with we inviting Ustad or Imam from Jakarta as well, and then they seem very happy for sure that we have a small snacks during that time. But the actual event, the actual open house will be on the 5th of April this week.
Oh yeah, because it's also falls on the weekdays. That's the problem.
Well, in Slovakia, it falls in the weekend on Sunday, but some of them is they can have a holiday or not working in the morning, but they have to go to the working on the Sunday afternoon. So we try to hold in the very more relaxed time for them on Saturday next week, or this week actually.
So it's like an open house.
Yes, it is an open house.
Okay. And what about the food that may heal their longing for the country, Indonesia?
Well, for sure that the food of Lebaran, the food of Idul Fitri will be there, like opor ayam, like lontong, rendang, or something that used traditionally that the Indonesian is longing for the food on the Lebaran. And for sure this time is they are not going to miss this opportunity, because maybe they already been that long not tasting the Indonesian food, the original one, because it's cooked by the Indonesian cook as well in our embassy here. So we hope that they can enjoy, and also the turnout will be more than double than the one that has Idul Fitri Salat.
The original taste. That's what
The original
matters.
one. Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
And in the Idul Fitr prayer, how do you see the enthusiasm and also how supporting was the weather? What season right now in Slovakia?
Well, actually, we are at the end of winter. Coming is spring. Yes, you're talking about the weather. The weather is, well, how do you say? It's cold still. It's a bit windy and it's a bit drizzle. But Alhamdulillah, we can perform the Salat very well because the turnout, as I mentioned, is around 300, 350 of Indonesian, mostly Indonesian. But actually, usually we also do the pray together with others communities in Indonesia, but in Slovakia and Bratislava. But this year, because in the other places are also open for praise, so that's why the mostly who coming at the embassy are Indonesian.
Okay, besides the weather, which is colder, way colder than here in Indonesia, any challenges or differences of the Idul Fitr celebration compared to Indonesia?
Well, we don't have that much challenge because you know actually the challenge itself is usually the place. We don't have the place. The capacity of the so-called mosque that we have here in Bratislava is very very tiny. It's like in Indonesia we call it musola maybe. That's why since three years ago we continuously open our embassy as also one of the premises for the praying. That's why we can accommodate more people to pray, not only Indonesian but also other nationalities. The other challenge may be because it's still early in the morning, so people is the challenge is more individual. It's not easy to get up, but
Yeah.
it runs very smoothly. So yeah, I think Alhamdulillah we managed to have that pray that day.
Okay. And how's actually Muslim population in Slovakia? Like you said, there is no grand mosque like in Italy. There is in Rome, for
No, no,
example.
no. We are very. The number is very limited. I think it's around 6,000 until 7,000 Muslims live in here, and we don't have a mosque. What the so-called mosque, we don't have it because it's kind of a regulation in this country that those who would like to have a kind of a proper what do you call it places for ibadah is usually has to have more than 50,000 followers. So since we are only 6,700, 7,000 maybe, um, we only have a small kind of what in Indonesia we call it musola. But the good thing is, since as I mentioned, since 3 years ago, the number of Indonesian coming here is maybe fivefold or sixfold times since 2022. Now is about 600, 700. So this also increased the number of the Muslim population in Slovakia. And it's not only in Bratislava but also in other places in Slovakia.
So on average, how the population, Muslim population in Slovakia, I mean from Indonesia?
Well, on average now it's about 700, but mostly they live in close to Bratislava, the capital, but also in the eastern part of Slovakia they also live. But again, if they are a bit far from Bratislava, the challenge is more higher than in Bratislava because in Bratislava we are able to join with others communities, Muslim communities, to have like a Friday prayer, for example. And now, like today, the embassy is also doing what we call the safari, not Ramadan, but safari Shawwal. So we visiting our Indonesian, our fellow Indonesian, to just say Aidin wal Faizin, Lebaran, to try to taste the Lebaran by visiting them as well.
Okay, and what about the embassy's effort to help maintain the spirit of aid within the community in Slovakia and to make sure that all of them stay connected with each other?
Well, that's a very good point to ask, Barama, because we are facing a very challenging life here in Slovakia. As I mentioned, that we have to have actually 50,000 followers, but now within the Indonesian, we build our we call it kebersamaan, togetherness, by using the social media, for example, by informing anything about the activities of the embassies, by connecting them, by visiting them. Whenever they have every month we're visiting them in every what you call it, places that they live or they work. So that's the way we try to connect with them, try to make them to be together. That living as a diaspora in other country than Indonesia is have a more challenge than in Indonesia. That's why we try to engage them more, just to make them not feel lonely, but still feel as an Indonesian fellow as well, and then to share all the happiness with them.
Any of them go back to Indonesia or mudik?
Well, I think it's again, as I mentioned, that some of them is still working on the weekday. For example, there is no holiday like Indonesia. We have a 1 week holiday, something like that now. So I think it's only those who work not in the what you call it, in the production line or in the factories are able to mudik, but I think it's less than 1% of the Indonesian are going to mudik. And besides that, it's quite expensive now because it's holiday season also
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in Europe. It's, Easter is coming.
Oh, Easter
Easter holiday.
holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you yourself doesn't go back to hometown as well.
No, no. Well, I'm very happy to be here because I can visit our fellow Indonesian during this Shawwal, during this what you call it, Idul Fitri time. So yeah.
Okay. And besides visiting each other, make sure that they are all connected. Any social or charity activities organized by the embassy on the Idul Fitr?
Well, we don't have a special or charity or event or something, but we do since during the Ramadan time we do have a kind of breakfasting together once a week. For example, we have our taraweh almost every night. Not in I mean it's together with the fellow Indonesian. So that's the kind of activities that we have here. As you know, that we are trying to make ourselves be together, and then make we share our happiness or our sadness together as well.
Besides sharing happiness, is that also in the form of food, like mixing Indonesian and Slovakian food for Idul Fitr celebration? Any
Well,
special food Idul Fitr from Slovakia?
no, I don't think so, because the Indonesian, they've been in Slovakia for quite some time, and for sure that they have what you call it, as you mentioned, longing for the Indonesian food. So we are specifically going to have to serve the Indonesian food for the fellow Indonesian. For sure that for the Slovakian, they can also taste the Indonesian food, as we try to promote Indonesian food as well to them. Some of them also already become wala, for example. So they also can come to our celebration on the 5th of April. So yeah, we promote Indonesian food more than the Slovak combining with Indonesian.
But do they have special food for Idul Fitr?
Yeah, they do. They do you mean the Slovak, right? The Slovak, they have
Yes.
a very specific food like uh, well, kind of dumpling, something like that, which is very nice. Also, they have a kind of a rendang, which is they call it goulash. They also have a raw meat as a traditional food as well. So yeah, um, well, if you what you call it, if you make it that goulash, for example, like rendang, for sure that the Indonesian also like it.
That tastes similar.
Almost similar, but it's they're more a soup, like a soup, not like a rendang. Is a bit thick. Mhm.
Okay. One day, hopefully, I can taste it.
Inshallah,
Idul
yes.
Fitr in
Why not?
Slovakia. Okay.
Why not?
Okay, then. And back to Muslims in Slovakia. How do they notice and respect the fasting and also Idul Fitr celebration?
Well, that's another challenge for the Indonesian or for those Muslim who perform or do the fasting during the Ramadan. But generally, the Slovakian also can understand, even that sometimes they ask a lot of questions. For example, how can you do, fasting without food, without drink in a day? So we try to explain them, but mostly they understand on that. And as you know, that the Slovakian is a more international community already. They've been around. Even in Indonesia, we have some quiet Slovakian also live there. So yes, we have to explain why we are performing our fasting during the Ramadan, and mostly they do understand on our obligation.
How many hours of fasting in Slovakia?
Well, we are fasting from 4:30 in the morning until, well, at the beginning of Ramadan is until I think almost 4:30. But now, yeah, last time before the Eid, we break fasting around 7 o'clock. So it's quite the same like in Indonesia.
Oh, okay, not
Yeah.
that long. Breaking the fast at 9 p.m. That might be
No,
in
no. Well,
summer. Yeah.
in summer, yes,
Yeah.
yes, in summer. Maybe sometimes until 10 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank God it's
Mhm.
the end of winter. Okay.
Yes.
Now back to the Idul Fitr, the meaning of Idul Fitr. How do you define it, Pak Pribadi?
Well, again, I think it's Idul Fitri for me is especially is a time to us to recollect, consider what things that we already done, and we try to hopefully to have forgiveness from Allah for sure. And also, this is a time for us, for me actually, to be more together with others, Indonesian or the family, for example, and also the others um, in fellow Indonesian. That's also described in our khutbah of Idul Fitri, kebersamaan, which is togetherness. Because we are uh, facing a challenge, being abroad, being a diaspora, it's not easy, if we are alone. So I mean, the Indonesian embassy tried to make all the people to be together, bersama, and then we face this challenge together. But again, Idul Fitri is a time for forgiving for each other.
Okay, Pak Pribadi, final statement, please. Any other messages for all Indonesians abroad during this Idul Fitr moment?
Well, first of all, thank you for sure that I would like to say Happy Idul Fitri, Minal Aidin wal Faizin, for all the fellow Indonesian Muslim who celebrate for sure. That's why, as I mentioned, this is the time for us to enjoy, to joy our, togetherness with all others community because we cannot be together. Sorry, we cannot be alone ourselves. So we have to be together. We have to stick. We have to be, take care of each other in our duty in abroad. So I hope that all the Indonesian, especially in those in Slovakia, can celebrate this moment very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Pribadi Suriono, for giving us insight, interesting things about Idul Fitr celebration in Slovakia. Once again, happy Idul Fitr. May we always be blessed and keep doing good deeds, not only in Ramadan, but in the remaining months as well, throughout the year until we meet again in another moment of Ramadan and Idul Fitr. Amin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and happy Idul Fitri from all of us in Slovakia, from the Indonesian, from Slovakia. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Barama.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, listeners and viewers, that's our VOI talk about Idul Fitr celebration in Slovakia, precisely in Bratislava, with the ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to Slovakia, Bapak Pribadi Suriono. Stay tuned for more interesting and insightful interviews with Voice of Indonesia, from Indonesia to the world.
RRI Digital with new look. Various collaborative content from various national programs, including live visual broadcasts, live radio broadcasts, music playlists, podcasts, video news, and various users' interaction features in the game. Various interesting content such as likes, comments, and shares, as well as live chat with broadcasters and users. Direct messaging and private chat facilities between app users are also available. RRI Digital, available on Google Store and App